Hello, I'm Rob, and this is another results tutorial. Hello, and welcome back, friends. Today we're putting some paint to the Wookie Warriors expansion for Star Wars Legion. I have split my Wookiees into two pairs, and the first pair will be done in Vallejo Model Color Flat Brown. I would suggest adding some water to thin this base paint down just a little bit, but it really doesn't require a lot of water because you don't want it to be too fluid. You just want it to be fluid enough to cover the miniature. In this video, I will focus most of this on the first figure, but I will show the another figure also from time to time. Now for the second set of the Wookiees, we will get a base of Vallejo Game Color Charred Brown. As before, don't bother thinning this paint down too much, just make it thin enough that you can easily add it to the figure and get decent coverage. Also, don't forget about the braids on the front and the back of each Wookiee going across the bandoliers. So for the first set of the Wookiees and a pre-shade highlight, we're going to be using Vallejo Game Color Scrofulous Brown. The real trick to the Wookiees, or pretty much anything that has fur for that matter, is a nice contrasting or lighter color than the base for highlights. I know that this looks like complete garbage at the moment, but just keep a little faith that we're gonna get to where we want to be. So pretty much with this, you just want to put the paint wherever you want it, really, but you want to aim for the top of the head, the hands, the knees, and also the braids on the front and the back. Moving on to the leather sections, using Vallejo Game Color Leather Brown. This would be used on any of the pouches on the waist, and also on the bandoliers and the holsters. I know this looks pretty much close to the last color, but don't worry about that too much. It'll be dealt with in the future. For the second set of the Wookiees and our pre-shade highlighting, we will be using some Vallejo Model Air Burnt Umber. This color looks a little bit darker than the last one, but what we're after here is the red. Again, we're looking to get the braids, the heads, the knees, and the arms, and to get some decent coverage going. Now, for the second set of Wookiees, we're adding some brighter highlights. So we're going to take that burnt umber and mix in some Vallejo Game Color Filthy Brown. This will give us a nice dark orange color, and start adding that all over all the areas that we did with the burnt umber. Just do leave about 10% of the previous color, you know, just to the outside edges of all the sections that you did. Moving on to the armor and weapons, pretty much anything you expect to come out metal. And for that, we are going to be using Vallejo Model Air Steel and Vallejo Model Color Black. If you watch some of my other videos, you know that anything that I'm painting a bright silver or steel color when it comes to weapons, this is pretty much the mixture I like to base it in. When you're doing this, just make sure that you're using more black than you are steel, because you want it to be a nice dark color. So after that dries, let's add some straight Vallejo Model Air Steel. Now for this section, I wanted to do a light dry brush for all the metal areas, and I wanted the swords to look a little filthy, and this can help with that. If you're going to do this, just make sure that you take your time, use a small dry brush or a small flat brush, and do your best not to spill over on the other areas, as it could be a little difficult to cover up metallics. For the fingers, nose, toes, and blasters of all the figures, we want to use some straight Vallejo Model Color Black. The toes are rather small, so do use a smaller brush with a fine point, and do your best to avoid getting it onto the fur. And now for the fun parts. Using Citadel Nuln Oil. This is one of the few times you can actually paint straight from the pot and not bother to thin these down. You can go about this about as sloppy as you want to be here. Just don't let it pull up too much on the higher areas, but do make sure you cover the whole miniature, top to bottom, up and down, and get decent amount of Nuln Oil on it, as that's going to help really dull these bright highlight colors that we put on them down. So after that, giving that some time to dry, or if you're me, blasting it with a hair dryer, we're going to be starting out with the Vallejo Game Color Leather Brown and start cleaning up all the pouches. Also, any areas that we did not previously paint leather on the bandoliers, you're going to want to go ahead and do your best to just add a little bit of leather to the outside edges. Don't worry about the deepest recesses. Me personally, I liked the bandoliers being more metalish than leather. Vallejo Model Air Steel and metal areas. This can be the shield on the main guy if you chose to paint it metallic. You might have chosen to paint it wood. You're also going to use this on all the shoulder pauldrons of the units and to pick out the sharp edges of the swords. Now here with the main guy with the shield, if you painted it metallic, make sure you use a small brush. Don't thin this paint down. It is super thin already to begin with, and it does not need any help, so to say. Just take your time, try your best to stay out of the recesses, and before, stay away from the fur. Vallejo Model Air Burnt Umber mixed with some Vallejo Game Color Filthy Brown to be used picking out the higher areas of the lighter colored Wookiees. You want to only focus on the strands of the hair. The high strands, leave the recesses alone, and do your best, to not cover up all the previous color here. Next, take that previous mixture of burnt umber and filthy brown and add in some of Vallejo Model Air Light Brown. And pretty much you want to start picking out all the areas not previously highlighted. Again, just as before, you're only picking out the lighter strands, leaving the deeper recesses alone. I know on camera here it does not look like much on the screen, but in person you will notice the difference. This is also the color that I used as the main highlight on the second set of Wookiees. Sorry, I didn't do that part on camera. fingers, nose, and toes again, and this time we are using German Gray. As before, we need a brush with a fine, small tip on it. We're just going to hit the tops of the toes, the tip of the nose, and pick out all the fingers. Now for the final part and our final highlights. Take that German Gray and add in some Vallejo Model Color Sky Gray. And this time you're just going to pick out the very tip of the nose, where you expect the nails to be on the toes, and the knuckles on their hands. Don't go crazy here. This is an extreme highlight. We don't want a lot of it on there, just a little bit. Here we are, and the final product, Fantasy Flight Games, Star Wars Legion, Wookie Warrior, Rebel Expansion. As much of a pain painting Wookie Warriors can be, I rather enjoy doing this. I think they're a lot of fun because you can be messy with them. You don't have to really concentrate on getting straight, clean edges. You know, you can be sloppy, and they will still come out looking great. Also, with these Wookie Warriors, you know, Fantasy Flight continues to make some really exciting, dynamically posed and well-sculpted miniatures. And the Wookiees really show that off, I think. So remember, if you like this video and you want to see more, please click like, subscribe, and share to help my channel grow. Also, below you will find affiliate links for all the paints used in this video. You can follow those to find all the colors that I use, basically. It does not cost you any extra, but helps my channel. Also, you can find a link to my Patreon account to further support my channel. And again, I would like to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.